Hi, and welcome to this quick tool review. This time around I have a bunch of different acquisitions, all tools that I've purchased in the last couple months. Haven't been buying anywhere near as many tools as I used to. One thing, I know where to put them, and second of all, I have an awful lot of tools now, but you seem to never have all the cool stuff that comes out, or that, you know, just would be fun to have as a collector, which I am. I have to admit that I have a disease and I love to collect tools. First up, I know I put the Harbor Freight. This is a brand new light from Harbor Freight that I'm going to look at. I don't know anything about it. The clamp looks horrible, but I was hoping the LED light would be good. They're saying it's reasonably bright, but we'll take a look at that in a second. 800 lumens, that's not huge. But in any case, I bought this one. This one comes on an inexpensive Chinese mag base, which seemed nice. It doesn't have anywhere near the pull of the 100 and something pounds it claims. It's an LED light. Udemy, I don't understand. That's really weird. Almost like YouTube related, right? No, I'm kidding. Udemy must be in something in Chinese. Maybe Mei is the company. I don't know, or the owner of the company. I don't know. It's got an on-off switch. You can see the amount of light it provides at a very close range. As you can see here, it's 7 LED, maybe 7 LED arrays. It doesn't get overly hot, but probably that's because it doesn't put out a ton of light. It's okay, not as good as I would have liked. I would have liked more light output. It claimed to be much brighter than I think it actually is. This one's for my bandsaw because the one I have over there is not doing too well anymore. Anyways, when I'm doing close-up shots, I like to make sure things are well lit so you guys can see the details. Next up, we have this Harbor Freight light, and I gotta say the clamp looks absolutely horrible. It looks like one of the clamp lights that they used to have in the 60s and 70s that would have the big aluminum shell on it with the incandescent bulb in the middle. However, I had hopes that the LED array would be good. It's only supposed to be 800 lumens, which is not a ton. My little pocket flashlight that runs on a single battery is 200 lumens, so this is 4 times that. I don't know. It's got a base. The color rendition index is 80 plus, which is on the low end for accurate color rendition. I got this because it was fairly inexpensive, and I like to review new lights and see if I can find things that may work for you in your shop. This may apply, I would say it apply to YouTubers more, but actually everyone needs, you know, focused lights, so hopefully this will be useful for everybody. Comes with instructions because you need instructions with a light because they are very complicated. I'd say anyone who buys this probably doesn't need an instruction manual, and if you do, you're probably not the kind of person shopping at Harbor Freight, or maybe I've just got it all wrong. I don't know. So we've got a wasted piece of plastic to protect the bezel here. I guess in shipment, if this scratched, you diffuse this even more. People probably wouldn't like that. I don't know. I hate all the shipping crap these days, or like this kind of plastic to reduce the risk of warning, using dry locations only. Come on, guys. I think most people have common sense, and the ones that don't are going to do it anyways. So what difference does it make? And now all this plastic's going in the landfill. As is the manual, because there's probably no reason for this. It's all lawyer speak for why we shouldn't get sued. Everything's a warning for you. Yeah, look at that crap. So it's sort of a creative thing. They've got a magnetic base here that this thing clamps onto, and it's got a little relief in it that fits inside this, which is, it's creative, but I think I probably won't use much of this at all. This angle is kind of unfortunate. The space here between the base and the light, you can see that you can't get it very far up. You could tilt this, but that's not really going to help the issue if you're trying to be over something. I guess you could attach this mag mount to something and have it aimed down, but I don't know. Not impressed at all so far. But I guess what I really want to know is how bright is this LED light, because you could create a new fixture yourself for this, and this guy's inexpensive enough it might be okay. All right, let's see what 800 lumens looks like. Oh, it's a nice diffused light. Yeah, that's in a diffuse sense, that's almost as bright as the previous one. you can look at it. It's a nice even light, no hot spots. In any case, a nice diffuse light. The clamp system is, like I said, one of those old garage light styles from the 70s and maybe even before that, 60s. These are probably easy to manufacture, but they don't hold well on anything other than maybe a 2x4. So that's not great. The stand is okay. It's got 3 magnets in it, which is kind of interesting. So you could mount it to the side of something. And I got to say, this light is very inexpensive. They almost could have sold this separately, have the lamp and housing for one thing, and then sell various better made bases. That would be a good idea. We're going to try this Harbor Freight light over here on the mill. This is the cheese ball clamp light that I was using before. I actually had a pair of these. It's what I could find once upon a time. This thing keeps arcing internally. The switch fell apart. It's a piece of junk. It's direct AC to DC conversion with an inverter inside the head here. Not a good design at all. Don't like it. I have the light I made here, and that's a good down light. If I turn that guy on, you see that guy fills in okay. Now I've got this guy that I can add to it, and that's actually very noticeable for a fill. I think that'll work out good because this one's straight down, this one's from an angle. I use this one to fill in particular things just to fill out the light, so I think we're gonna do all right. And fortunately, I'm going to be clamping on rectangular bars, something that this sort of cheesy clamp kind of excels at. So I think that'll work out all right. I think we're going to be good. Kind of looking forward to trying this, and I guess you'll see it next time I shoot video over here. And throwing away the old LED bulb. One thing I thought was interesting that I'd show you, because I took it apart, because I always take everything apart, is to look at the wire they used. This is some twin ax wire. It's twin axial, except it's in a round clear case. I've never seen anything like it. You know, normal AC cable. Actually, this doesn't use normal AC cable either. I guess this was always round and I never noticed it. That's really interesting. Normally you got the flat with one wire in each section with a little divider down the middle. This is actually round with 2 wires running in it. That's kind of neat. Never noticed till now. Next up, I picked up this insert design slitting saw, which is kind of cool. So came with inserts and the tool. Very cool. And it fits on a standard arbor. This is a 1 1/4 inch arbor for slitting saws with the various spacers. And it's a really nice fit. There we are. That's in the key. So that'll be handy. Pick that up on eBay for a deal. I forget how much it was. It was pretty inexpensive. Thickness 0.122. So if you're trying to do an 1/8 inch hole, you could go in, then come out and go up and down a couple thou and get your 1/8 inch even hole. Pretty handy. Not much more to say till I use it. I'm kind of curious how it's going to work out, but the clamp design on this is very similar to a parting tool. So they've got a lot of experience making these. Of course, they could use the same shape inserts as the parting tool, because then you'd be able to buy one set of insert for multiple things, and God knows they'll never do that. Just so you can see what I'm talking about, there's an insert for one of these guys. Here is a parting tool insert, and you will notice they're just ever so slightly different. This is tapered. This one's sort of tapered at a different angle, nowhere near as deep. Could have made all these fit. Maybe if you bought all Valinite stuff, but because this is an Iscar, but still. Here's another example. This is also an Iscar. This is a negative rake, a parting tool insert. This is a positive rake insert. They are very close, and maybe you could make it fit. A little bit different geometry on the top there. Really close. Probably close enough to nearly fit, but just not quite. I don't know why these people can't agree on things. It just makes no sense to me. They could all have a standard size and shape, you know, like the ISO standard, except everyone's got to come out with their own thing, lock you into their buying inserts only from them. Here's yet another one. Let me know in the comments if that makes you as furious as it makes me. Next up is a tool I bought on a whim. It's a Criterion grooving tool and has a 3/4 inch shank. I guess we can take the protective coating off of here. It's a pretty big groove there. Very sharp tool, brand new. I bought this sort of on a lark because I thought I could use the shank, if nothing else, for something else. I would always braze some carbide on here. But it turns out pretty darn nice. Didn't know much about it when I bought it. Sometimes I take a risk, and sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. Lastly, this is not something I bought recently. I've been using these hose-on screwdrivers for a long time. They have a Phillips head that's designed for Japanese screws, but they fit normal screws so tightly that the screw will just stick on the end. They're a fantastic screwdriver, and this design lets you apply a lot of pressure for screws that are really tight, so you can apply downward pressure and rotate. It's an excellent design, but when the screw is so tight that you can't get it out with this because the Phillips is starting to cam out on you, here's another solution, and this is a really common one and works quite well. But getting enough downward pressure to prevent this bit from camming out on you, this is an impact screwdriver. I guess you could start with the regular drill motor, followed up by the impact drill motor. And impact has a lot of advantages, especially if you want to hold something by hand and still apply a lot of torque on it to loosen it. This guy can do that because it hits very quickly, and the mass of the object tends to hold it in place. So it can function even if you can't hold the other end of it, say like a flywheel or something, really tightly, and you can't lock it in place. These kind of things will still work. However, they cam out very easily as well, because you got to have a ton of downward pressure to prevent the Phillips from naturally wanting to cam out. So there's another solution. And here we have another solution for getting out your stuck screw. This is from a patent July 1935 from company Plum, right here. And it lets you get your whole hand on here and rotate and put a bunch of downward force while we're trying to remove the screw. It has removable bits. I only have this one. I sort of inherited this. And you would think this long arm here would be used to rotate, but it actually is just to keep things steady. It doesn't lock at all, and it doesn't let you rotate the bit, because that would be nice to get a little bit of extra leverage, but that's not what it's for. This is only made out of aluminum. Actually, this is also aluminum. The shank is steel. Here's the old school version of the other solution that works even better. And this is designed to hold a bit. Bits are right here. And you put the Phillips bit in, and then you hit this end with a hammer. And as the hammer hits it, the downward force there is a thread in here that causes the whole end of this to rotate as the force goes down. So at the moment of maximum force going down, there's also maximum rotation force. So this is not likely to cam out, but you can tell this is a little unwieldy, and the bits for it are pretty large. So if you're trying to get in somewhere tight, this is not the tool for you, but it can and has saved me in several situations when I couldn't get a stuck screw out. But there's a newer version of this that's even better, and that's the tool I bought this time. Let me show you. Here's the new solution I purchased recently from a company called Vessel. They're a Japanese company. These screwdrivers fit Phillips screws extremely well. There's almost no slop, and they tend not to cam out very easily at all. They're a lot like the screwdriver I showed you originally. This is a hose-on, and Vessel is the style of screwdriver, but it's also a company. I think this bit in here is like a Vessel number 2. And these screwdrivers are the combination solution that sort of supersede most of the other designs you've seen before. This is a number 2, and this is a number 3 Phillips. And they look very plain, right? They look like common screwdrivers that you could sort of hammer into a stuck Phillips bit. However, these are designed specifically to work on right-handed thread screws. And if you get a stuck screw, you push this into the screw, the Phillips bit down below, and then you hit this side with a hammer, and it causes the shank to rotate. And this will loosen extremely tight screws. And the advantage of it is, like over the impact can cam out because you're applying consistent force on the back to prevent the cam out, while the impact wrench has impulse force applied to the screw. This guy, when you hit it with a hammer, the maximum force down happens at the same time as the maximum rotational force on the shank, giving you a much better chance of removing a stuck screw. This is an excellent design that I look forward to using on my next stuck screw in the future. I don't run across very many number 3 Phillips, but those are very big ones, and those tend to be very tight. They probably should have had like a hex head or an Allen head on them, but when they choose to use Phillips and they get stuck, something like this can be invaluable. Number 2 is the most common size Phillips screw that I run across, and this one will be very handy. It looks like a plain screwdriver. You can't tell until you actually hit that the shank will rotate. As you hold this and hit it with a hammer, the shank will rotate at the maximum downward force. Last but not least, my wife and I were walking through Harbor Freight, and she was in a different aisle but overheard me talking to my brother-in-law about wondering about how the Harbor Freight Icon T-handle hex and Torx key sets worked, and she bought them for me when I wasn't in the store and then gave them to me. So I've got the metric, the standard, and the Torx, which was a really surprising and nice gift from her. I've always wondered if these were, you know, decent quality. The other sets they sell with this kind of thing, the Pittsburgh, these are real crap. I've had the balls shear off the ends of more than one of these, probably 5 or 6 of them. They're convenient and they're really inexpensive. So when I want to stick a Allen key in with a tool, I often stick these in with the tool, as long as you don't have to torque too tightly, especially on the ball end. I've twisted these and I've sheared the balls off. These are crap. Hopefully these are better. All of these drivers are made with S2 tool steel, at least that's what they're claiming, which is a very high toughness and very hard tool steel. So Rockwell 59 to 60 and extremely tough, which is what you need. If you get really strong, really hard, but brittle, then you end up with shearing the balls off sort of thing, or in the case of Torx, shearing the lobes off. If it's extremely tough, then it resists deformation, but it will deform before it breaks catastrophically, which is what you want in a tool like this. So hopefully these are good. Let's open these up. If you're one of those people that appreciates a well-organized tool case, they come with a molded case that's of strong enough material that you could conceivably just store the drivers in the tool case like this. So it goes all the way from T45 down to T10. That's a pretty handy range. I'm going to check the hardness on one of these. Now, I don't want to get too close to I'll go fairly close to the end down here, as long as I can get it to balance inside the Rockwell hardness tester. And let's see how hard these are. I assume they hardened them and then tempered them for maximum toughness, but they also want them to be hard enough that you just don't twist the ends off or rotate and twist the lobes on these Hexalobe or Torx lobes off in case you get a really tight screw. So let's take the T45 and see how hard this actually is. All right, so we're going to preload this guy. Set my 0. We're doing Rockwell C right now. It's pretty darn hard. That needle's not moving at all. Usually when it's a softer material, the needle will move a lot as it penetrates the material. You can just see it's barely moving. And interestingly enough, that comes up with a Rockwell C of only 25, so they're going for high toughness, I guess. Let's try something closer to the tip. Okay, here's closer to the end, just in case they harden that more. The way the needle's moving really slowly, I'd expect this thing to be much more like Rockwell 40 or 50, but that's Rockwell 28. So it's getting harder as we get closer to the end. Looking at the curves for S2 tool steel, the toughness is way up down at Rockwell 24 to 32. So I'm guessing they opted for toughness so that you wouldn't accidentally shatter one of these lobes. Rather, they would deform and twist. And hopefully you do it before you did permanent deformation. In any case, it's a pretty nice set. We will tell when we use them. And you can tell that they planned on you possibly reusing these, because they've got a cardboard insert that stiffens up this whole thing, so you can just take this whole tray and put it inside your tool chest. So these are the Torx bits. I will not be using these trays because I don't have any room for them. Here's a close-up at the machining quality of the Torx or Hexalobe, depending on whether or not you want the generic brand or the trade name. Next up, we have the Allen wrenches. And the Allen wrenches are not ball tip, which is kind of interesting. They are square. And the advantage of a ball tip is you can come in on an Allen cap screw at somewhat of an angle if you can't get directly over it. Straight shanks like this, you cannot. That is a limitation. And I noticed that they don't have these in ball head. I wonder why that is, because they sell smaller sets, I believe, in ball head, but just not the big sets. And here is the English unit version. They look very nice, high quality. Similar hardness for these guys. Here's the full set. The American or the English unit set is a much wider set. They go down to everything but the 50,000th set. You know, if you have the Bonda set, well, actually they're missing two sizes. They're missing 16th and 50,000ths. So if you need the two smallest sizes, which probably would be too delicate for a T-handle, but maybe not, you're not going to get it. But they do go up pretty darn large. So this goes up to 1/4 and 5/16. So 1/4, 5/16. This set goes one larger. This set goes two smaller, so you'll still need this set if you want the small sizes. 50,000ths is pretty useful. I've used it a bunch, but they're pretty delicate, so T-handle might be a bit overkill to get that much of a torque advantage. Anyways, the sets look great. I will let you know how I like them going forward. I thought I was going to repurpose the moderately cheesy stand that comes with the really inexpensive set, but the bits, the sizes that they cover are very different than the Icon set, and since they're all Harbor Freight, you think that they wouldn't do that, but not only does this set go smaller down to 1/16, it just doesn't go to 50,000ths, but it's missing some interim sizes, which is kind of weird. So in any case, I can't use this particular stand. I guess I'll have to make a different one. Thanks for watching. Hope you find it useful. Hope to see you next time.